We wanted to get into a little bit of the nuts and bolts of a divorce.
Yeah.
I guess you call it a procedural.
Procedural, jurisdictional issues.
Yes.
Basically, yes, the nuts and bolts to get the case started.
Okay, well, if someone decides they've done everything they can in good conscience and they feel like, now's the time, I just can't be in this marriage anymore, what do they do? What's the first step?
The first step after hiring a lawyer is to file a divorce petition. The divorce petition has to be filed in the county in which one of the parties lives.
Okay. In the county.
In the county in which one of the parties has lived for at least 90 days.
Okay. So it's not even a very long period of time.
Not a long period of time at all.
So even if they're separated and someone's moved out of state,
Yes.
it just has to be in, as long as someone's lived in that county for 90 days, it's fine.
Correct.
And it doesn't matter what state they were married in. It's just where they're residing now.
Absolutely not. Just where one of the spouses is residing. We just need one of the spouses to have lived in Texas for at least 6 months and have lived in the county in which the case is filed at least 90 days.
Okay, so then they file that, then what?
So then once it's filed, the other spouse, the non-filing spouse, must get notice. That's part of their constitutional due process rights. And so that can be done a lot of different ways. Some people say, I don't want to be served at work. I don't want my coworkers to know what's going on, that I'm going through a divorce. So just give me the papers and I will sign whatever you want me to sign. What that typically means is they're willing to sign a waiver of service so that a process server doesn't show up at their job and hand them papers and say, you've been served.
Right, right. That could be humiliating, I'm sure.
Correct.
So do they have to sign a waiver, or is that just implied? I mean, how does that work?
That's a great question. A waiver of service is a legal document, and yes, it has to be signed in the presence of a notary. It actually has to be notarized. And in the waiver, the person who's signing it is basically acknowledging that they've received a copy of that petition that's been filed with the court and that they're aware of the lawsuit. And they state in the waiver whether or not they need to be served. And basically they say they don't wish to be served with what we call process.
Okay. So it's waiving their right to that particular part of due process.
Correct.
Not all due process, but just that particular part.
That part of due process. That's correct.